Okay, we'll get started. Thanks everyone for joining. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York Transportation Development Corporation for Monday, March 23rd, 2020. I will ask that everyone mute their phone until you are ready to speak. Also, for the record, I will ask that anyone wishing to speak to please state your name before speaking. I'd like to note for the record that due to public health concerns and as authorized by an executive order of the governor, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I'll also note for the record that the public has been given the opportunity to comment on the agenda item by submitting their written comments at or before 10 a.m. today. I'd like to further note for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda item. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I'd like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to the item on the agenda. If so, I ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We'll be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or vote regarding the item. Hearing none, I will now ask Douglas Brissett to present our only agenda item requesting authorization to perform certain acts in connection with the sale and delivery of the New York Transportation Development Corporation Lease Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2020, and to take related actions. Doug, please begin.
Thank you, Howard. This is Doug Brissett. Good morning, everyone. Today, the board is being asked to approve the operative provisions, sale terms, official statement, bond purchase agreement, related documents, and related actions in connection with the sale and delivery of approximately $360 million New York Transportation Development Corporation, hereafter the corporation, lease revenue refunding bonds, Series 2020, for the Fuller Road Management Corporation Nanotechnology Facilities Project. I'll refer to this as the Series 2020 bonds. The Series 2020 bonds are taxable and are to be issued for the benefit of Fuller Road Management Corporation, hereafter the borrower, which is a private, not-for-profit corporation. The borrower has requested that the corporation issue the Series 2020 bonds. Proceeds of the Series 2020 bonds will be used, together with certain other available monies, to defease or redeem all or a portion of the borrower's outstanding bonds and bank loans previously issued or incurred to procure, design, and construct certain buildings and facilities on the borrower's Albany campus devoted to the nanotechnology industry and certain other purposes. These are referred to as the facilities. The proceeds will also be used to pay cost of issuance of the Series 2020 bonds. The facilities reside on land leased by the borrower from the State University of New York, SUNY, under 2 ground leases. Pursuant to these ground leases, the borrower maintains a leasehold interest in the land upon which the borrower has constructed the facilities. The Research Foundation of the State University of New York, referred to as the Research Foundation, or RF, has leased 2 buildings located at 221 to 225 Fuller Road and 141 Fuller Road. Under the first lease, effective April 1st, 2020 through December of 2028, the RF pays the borrower $36 million annually. Under the second lease, effective April 1st, 2020 through September of 2035, the RF pays the borrower approximately $7 million annually. The Series 2020 bonds are structured such that annual debt service for the payment of interest and amortization of principal does not exceed the RF's total annual lease payments to the borrower. Pursuant to the loan agreement dated April 1st, 2020, between the corporation and the borrower, the corporation agrees to lend the borrower the principal amount of the Series 2020 bonds. In turn, the borrower will execute and deliver to the corporation a promissory note, hereafter the note. The sole source of payment by the borrower of amounts due under the loan agreement are the 2 RF lease payments to the borrower under the lease agreements. The Series 2020 bonds will be issued and secured under an indenture of trust as of April 1st, 2020, by and between the corporation and the trustee, the Bank of New York Mellon. As security for the payment of the borrower's obligations under the loan agreement and the note, the borrower will assign to the corporation and the trustee, for the benefit of the bondholders, except for certain reserved rights, the borrower's rights to receive rents under the lease agreements pursuant to the assignment of rents by and among the borrower, the corporation, and the trustee. Pursuant to the indenture, the corporation will also assign its right, title, and interest under the loan agreement, except for certain reserved rights, and the note to the trustee as security for the 2020 bonds. The Series 2020 bonds are special limited revenue obligations of the corporation and are not payable from or secured by any property of the corporation other than the trust estate pledged under the indenture. The Series 2020 bonds are not a debt of the State of New York, the state, the New York Job Development Authority, JDA, the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development, ESD, or any other local development corporation, agency, or authority of the state, and none of these entities shall be liable on the Series 2020 bonds. The borrower has agreed to indemnify the corporation, the state, JDA, and ESD against certain liabilities, or to contribute to any payments required to be made by the corporation relating to such liabilities, including liabilities under the federal securities laws. In accordance with the attached resolution that you've already received, you are hereby requested to, 1, approve the terms and authorize the sale of the Series 2020 bonds on a negotiated or competitive basis. 2, confirm the appointment of certain professionals. 3, approve the form and content of the official statement and various other documents connected with the sale and delivery of the Series 2020 bonds. And 4, authorize certain officers and employees of the corporation to take all actions deemed necessary to accomplish the final sale and delivery of the Series 2020 bonds. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. And in addition, we have Marvin Marcus, Managing Director of Goldman Sachs, who's leading the transaction, and he can address any of your questions as well as give an update of the current market.
Okay, thanks, Doug. So let me ask if anybody has any of the directors have any questions or comments, and just remind you to state who you are as you begin speaking.
This is George Haggerty. I have a question.
Take it away.
Okay. At any time, do the debt payments exceed the rents? It would seem the rents are fairly high, $43 million annually, and the debt payment itself should be less than that, I would imagine. Is that so?
Marvin, do you want to take that?
Sure. The answer is yes, that's accurate. And in no case will it there are certain portions of the debt that's being refinanced that, depending on interest rate, are in a position to be, I'll call it, left behind. In particular, the $13 million or so line of credit, might not get paid off. But yes, it's definitely dollar for dollar that the rent will be sufficient to amortize the bonds, and that's
right. I can imagine, because we don't have pricing yet, and all these other factors are still outstanding. But just reasonable projection would say, very obviously, that the rent will exceed, in the worst case scenario, the debt itself.
Well, that's right, and that's what the rating is based on, the fact that it's solely an RF credit.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from directors? I think I'll just add how much I appreciate the work that has gone into this, and this has been an issue on our collective plate for some years. So I just want to recognize the team at ESD, both finance and legal, and all the advisors who have helped us get to this point. So thank you for that. This is not insignificant to be at this moment. There is no other collateral, is there? It's just the SUNY RF payments?
That's correct. Yes. It's an assignment of leases.
Okay. And when will this price?
Hi, it's Marvin. When it will price we plan to post tomorrow and hopefully price next week. Just to be clear, everybody I think understands where the market is or isn't right now. So we have a window of approximately 3 weeks to execute this transaction before the loans with the banks are due. Fuller Road is currently in negotiation with the banks as a backup to extend the loans in case we cannot execute this in time. So we're going along 2 parallel paths. Hopefully we can execute this one. If not, Fuller Road is requesting a 6-month or a 1-year extension with the banks, and both transactions are being pursued in parallel.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the directors? We noted earlier that we do not have any comments from the public. I'll now entertain a motion for approval of this item. And I'd like to remind you to please state your name before speaking. Is there a motion?
Hi, this is Pravina Raghavan, motion to approve.
Great. Is there a second?
Kathleen Mize, second.
Great. All in favor? This is Howard. I'm in favor.
This is Pravina. I'm in favor.
George Haggerty is in favor.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion carries. There being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
George Haggerty moves to adjourn.
Okay.
Pravina Raghavan, second.
Okay. We are adjourned, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you. Thanks.